Good morning, how's everyone doing? Madrid, welcome. Now we're going to check out the Real Madrid TV report about the bar and its owner. It was about time this story was told this way. But anyway, we're back to the same thing, Real Madrid as an institution. Quiet and keeping to yourself. Only through Real Madrid TV, but they should really post this on their social media, where nearly 700 million people follow them worldwide, so it spreads because otherwise it won't. But well, that's how it is. We'll see, right? Because the video, I think it's really good, but they're using the platforms that, in my opinion, they shouldn't or should use them more. This is an interview with Huijsen from Huijsen, featured today in Marca magazine. I wasn't going to include him in this video, but then I saw Marca's door. I'm recording this in the early hours, late Tuesday night going into Wednesday. Well, he says some interesting things. Coming up for the real diehards, these 5 or 6 minute interviews and so on, so I don't have to mention the time. We like House, we're fond of him, and we think he's not only really good, but also very interesting in what he might have to say. Because he says things like how Ramos' ability to play out from the back was underrated. The thing is, well, in the interview there might also be a bit of the usual cliches and so on. That's why I'll leave it for last. But just so you know, of course, in many cases, unless it's on Real Madrid TV during the regular season and when they're with their clubs, soccer players don't really talk much. When they're out with the national team, whether we like it or not after what happened with Carvajal yesterday, they just talk more. Because the national team or the federation does allow interviews with the players and things like that. And so they take advantage of the media because they know things are tight with Florentino. When they're with the national team, they take the chance to interview them. All right, we've got the video here. We'll play it in just a sec, okay? All right, here's something pretty exciting. This morning there's going to be a friendly match between Real Madrid and Castilla. Between Xabi Alonso's team and Arbeloa's team. We said from the start, you didn't need to be Sherlock Holmes to realize there was going to be a great relationship between the two. Well, you know, a little game like that doesn't hurt anyone. It's really great. You could even say, redundantly enough, that it can be counted among the preseason games. The downside is many are out, but some stayed, like we said yesterday. Other key players for Xabi Alonso, like Vinicius, Militao, and Rodrigo, are also part of the mix, which we talked about yesterday, by the way, in the last video. Like 30 Alexander-Arnold. Well, Carreras, 30 Alexander-Arnold left out by Tuchel's technical decision for the English national team, which is a bit surprising. Sure, an English person would say, hey, and why are they also leaving Carreras out of the Spanish team? I think if Carreras keeps this up, he'll make the national team, I hope. But with Arnold, who used to be a regular and now isn't going for technical reasons, maybe he's been seen the same way we have. Not a little hesitant and all that, though he did better in the last game. Well, that's it. They're going to play a friendly match. It said here, Rodra's voucher. There was an official one, a cup final back in the 80s. That's what this was. Yeah, not exactly something, well, historic. Remember, a Copa del Rey final, Real Madrid versus Castilla. For those who, well, think of that time as ancient history, just so you know, it really did happen. All right, so as we were saying, we were talking about Carvajal, right? That he's been a bit lukewarm, a bit so-so, you know, not quite sure. Let's take a look at this Carvajal. We can't just put all the blame on the Real Madrid captain right now. I did that yesterday, though I did it while clarifying and softening a few points. When the club is pretty soft on Barça too, Florentino's club is pretty soft on Barça too, except on Real Madrid TV. No way. And now you're going to see that video where they say, according to some media, kinda. Hey, the media says so, right? But well, they do some things well in one area. But Madrid should go all in on this. So Carvajal says, probably thinking if my club isn't going all in here, why should I? Don't mess with me, I've got a World Cup next year. And this is full of Barça players and, you know, kind of like that. I slipped up a bit, but anyway, there are things where Carvajal would get carried away talking too much, which don't justify this at all, not in the slightest. And of course, yesterday I was going over it because on social media it's nonstop. All the Real Madrid fan accounts are constantly tweeting and retweeting situations like this, you know, the real deal. The other day I was even doing it from my hotel room, where I was staying for a wedding in Pamplona over the weekend, and I couldn't really show the chart properly. I want to show it clearly. You've already seen it. but it's about the record of red cards in the league during the 21st century. It's something between two teams that have competed in the 25 leagues there have been, meaning one has plus 65 and the other -1, and until just a week ago it was -2. Remember, they sent off an Osasuna player during stoppage time at the very end of the match, but before that it was plus 65.
Less than before. 2 expulsions difference. It's really amazing.
There's a difference of 66 send-offs when it comes to the total balance of ejections, meaning red cards, ejections. I mean red cards for the other team, red cards for your team. It's not just something ordinary, it's a statistical anomaly, something you're not going to see in any European league. At no point in the history of any European league has this happened, and if it did, I'd be really surprised. And maybe I said to him, look, yeah, it happened in the Belgian league back in the 70s or 80s, I guess. Well, there's got to be a sample covering 25 years, not just 10 to 25 years, 25 years. It's just an incredible thing. Hey, no sports journalist. Yeah, maybe the Madrid ones and so on. But really, Spanish sports journalism hasn't stopped to ask themselves that this is actually something worth looking into. They didn't ask themselves that before, since the whole Negreira thing wasn't known, even though there was a hunch it might have some explanation, even if the numbers seemed a bit strange to them. But now they're still not asking themselves about it, even knowing that the club with over 65 had been paying him for, what a coincidence, pretty much all of the 21st century so far, except for a few years. To the second in command of the referees, 8.4 million? No way. So of course it's definitely something, really quite outrageous, I get you guys, because this is something that happens every single day and it really makes us all pretty nervous. It's not just this, there's also the thing about the goals disallowed by VAR from 37 to 14 man, and that it was used by this guy in the photo who's kind of out of his mind. I used it to say, it's amazing that Madrid, of course, is 17 points ahead of the second. Like saying, imagine if VAR didn't exist, but really you've got to read it the other way around. Really, really good, of course. I don't think he's that dumb.
Listen to what I'm telling you, Fado, because he knows the deal.
Well, this guy is basically being spoon-fed by the league, getting all the benefits handed to him. And so, of course, what's he going to say, right? All right, then. And now, well, hold on, there's more to come. Of course, look, Footballgate.com reminds us of this. The record of ejections from the CTA against UEFA. Red card balance in the CTA league in the 21st century. Real Madrid -1, Barcelona plus 65. We've already seen it. Red card balance in UEFA competitions in the 21st century. Real Madrid plus 13, Barcelona plus 12. Those are pretty normal numbers between two teams that compete for that tournament every single year. The thing is, this just doesn't make sense. There's no way to explain it because no journalist, except for people from Real Madrid TV or us on social media, ever asks this question over and over like we do. Nobody, but why? Because it goes against what they're selling, against what they make their living from. What they eat. The CTA's VAR system overturns a goal. It's another way to tell this. The CTA's VAR, overturns 1 out of every 14 goals scored against Real Madrid. UEFA's VAR cancels 1 out of every 37 goals scored by Real Madrid, focusing only on Madrid's matches. Not like Paul Tenorio says here, Real Madrid is the only big European club with a negative red card balance in the 21st century, and Barça is the leader in this. Add to that the VAR has disallowed 3 times more goals for Real Madrid than for Barça. That's what they call it, topping it off with the payments to Negreira, yet they still say the fraud must be proven. Come on, man. Well, Real Madrid TV has finally made this video, and it was about time they did. But I'll say it again, they need to post it on social media. That's why we keep retweeting it non-stop, practically until our fingers hurt, so that as many people as possible around the world can see it. But they need to do it in Madrid, with 700 million followers on social media watching. And you'll see how things will start to change a little for sure, but they don't dare, just like they didn't dare to skip the cup final. It's kind of like I just dip my toes in a little bit, but don't go any further. And that just can't be because of that, that's why. You know that on this channel I'm totally free, I don't care. Florentino does a ton, like a million things really well. I can be a bit sour, but in a smooth way. Because I also call out Florentino on things I think Madrid does wrong, and this one they do wrong. We're giving Carvajal a hard time on some things, and rightly so. but we don't criticize Florentino. Sorry, but if you're going with this, you've got to see it through to the end. And then why do you say you want a strong Barca at the assembly? And then what are you doing suggesting the levers to him? Well, the legal ones? No, because you already know the others. But the one Madrid suggested and got for Barca was the legitimate, above-board option. You're not helping him, you're helping them instead. Besides, they're not going all in on the Barcelona-Negreira case. They're involved, Madrid is in it, but they're not going all out. Soon we'll be talking to this lawyer from Barcelona who, along with others, submitted Frakes' statements to cope. Statements from former Barca executives that hadn't been submitted, which the investigating judge didn't have included in all the case documentation. These are important things that Madrid, if it had been sharper, would have submitted. Well, it wasn't Madrid, it was private individuals. So not good from the club here, not good. But well, all things considered, at least they're putting this out.
So, ever since VAR was introduced in Spanish soccer in the 2018 to 2019 season, one company has been in charge of managing the video refereeing system. Mediapro, a company whose top executive, according to several media outlets, has a direct connection with a team that plays in the league, FC Barcelona. In addition, Mediapro will keep handling the VAR footage through 2028, after renewing the contract with the Spanish Soccer Federation. As the Spanish newspaper points out, the federation gave Mediapro control of the VAR until 2028. The CEO of the audiovisual group is also a member of the board of Barca Studios subsidiary, the company in charge of managing Barcelona's audiovisual services. In recent seasons, the Catalan club has relied on a series of guarantees through asset sales to, among other things, sign players. Among those guarantors is the top executive at Mediapro. Barcelona sold part of its shares. The founder of Mediapro joined the board of directors of Breakwood Invest, the company managing the digital assets business of the Barcelona club. Orpheus Media, a company owned by the head of Mediapro, backed Barcelona's leadership during the March 2021 elections. The newspaper El Español points out that the federation should have reviewed the potential conflict of interest due to the Mediapro CEO's presence on the board of Barca Studios subsidiary. After what happened in Vallecas with the bar blackout that benefited Barcelona, OK Diario recalled this connection linking Mediapro, the company running the bar and its CEO, with Barcelona. Well, this is the situation in Spanish soccer. The company that runs the VAR in the Spanish league, according to several media reports, has interests directly linked to Football Club Barcelona.
Sure, this is something we've already voted on here a million times before. But of course, it's just not something that comes up at the discussion tables or in the talk shows. It's not there because there's a pretty big obstacle standing in the way. I mean, you're not going to see this in Marca because they rely on the league and so on. But this right here. Madrid, despite having such a powerful media machine, doesn't really have its communication working all that well. But who watches Real Madrid TV except for the really hardcore fans? You just can't put this here and leave it at that. And now we'll hear from Antonio Esteban, my colleague at La Sexta, who tells it like it is. But those things Antonio Esteban will say, and we say here and on Real Madrid TV, what impact does that have? Well, among us, quite a lot, of course, thankfully, but not as much as it really should have. This we just saw is how it should be. I don't know, you've teased me about watching YouTube from Spain. Like Antonio Lobato doing those car commercials. You know what I mean? But happening over in Miami. I remember when I first got to Miami, there was this commercial with a guy who would say, Kendall Toyota, which was a Toyota dealership located in Kendall, in one area, in one part of town, and in Miami-Dade. I mean, it would have to be repetitive, really repetitive. Those of you who listen to the radio, that Occasion Plus ad, well, that's how it should be every day. Wow, the thing about the bar with Mediapro, so people understand. I mean, keep hammering this point because they could throw this at any regular guy on the street. There are even people from Madrid who have no clue about this, who know nothing, but you've just seen this and come on. But how is it run by a Barca member who defended the Negreira case? Board of directors of a Barca subsidiary, and before that there was another guy who backed Laporta and guaranteed for him, and you're like, wait, this is the one investigating the blackout the other day? Well, the semi-automatic lines? We must be crazy? Seriously, we must be out of our minds. Hey, sure, this is something anyone with a bit of common sense would see. He says, man, this isn't normal, but it doesn't teach you much. It teaches you very little. All right, well, let's listen to Esteban, who made a great point the other day saying this. Good old Antonio, my colleague back in the day at La Sexta. Hopefully one day we can catch up. It's been ages and have him here on the channel. Sure, he was saying this and he was absolutely right.
The referees, for example, the other day didn't ask the girl if she had fallen. You didn't dive, right? Or for you, it's just a clear penalty. Without VAR, for you, it's nothing that didn't happen. Question to the Barcelona Football Club player. It's pretty surprising they don't ask him. I mean, I'm sure if it were Vinicius, pretty sure about it, that it's Vinicius because we've heard it. Hey, but you hear, right? Penalty kick. You gotta ask about the penalties, though. That didn't happen in the press room, I think. The first one, besides the international press, where at least the question is asked in English, I'm not sure if the outlet is international, but the question is, he asks about several things like what a game, the VAR on and off, who covers FC Barcelona and the national mainstream media too. Remember, Barca plays in our league, not just for Catalonia, yet they don't ask them a single thing about that. But the Rayo coach, oh, they definitely ask him. Yes, about the play, yes, and that's how we found out, because that's what the press is here for, to give information to viewers, users, and citizens. So that's when we found out the referee admitted he had indeed made a mistake on the penalty against Rayo's player. And then the Rayo coach's frustration when he says, you can't just stop for 5 minutes twice. No way. Exactly, it's because of the press questions. But why aren't those involved with Barca asked the same way about what happened? Well, we also have Javier's own guidelines there too. Topics that interviews weren't going to be allowed to ask about, depending on the subject. And one of the speakers, I think the show's doctor, said, well, ask your question, we'll see what happens. Because obviously here we only talk about what we want to talk about. And not say, I mean, careful with what we're talking about, careful with this kind of false sense of safety here.
Well, what Esteban is saying here, you'll only hear on Real Madrid TV. You're not going to hear this much. The other day, Canizares went off script on Cope on the mainstream stations and so on. Antonio Esteban, who is one of the best sports commentators in Spain, a truly great narrator, really ought to be doing the kind of work that Carlos Martinez does over on the Plus channel. But why isn't he there? Why isn't he there? I think that pretty much answers itself, not because they showed their hand just like we did at Men's Sports. So then, who's basically dominating the soccer broadcast right now and all that? It's people like Carlos Martinez, you know, the ones who are everywhere in that scene. By the Mardinis, by all those folks, by this Mr. Chip guy and the like. Well, that's just not it. Such a shame, really such a shame, so to speak, of course, because this has already been talked about plenty, hasn't it? All right, let's listen to Hauser here, and to wrap up the video, I saved it for last. For the real enthusiasts, listen here to Dean's bonus, come on.
Little by little, and well, it's been a big step too. Obviously, I think for everyone playing it means going to Real Madrid. But I think I'm doing just fine. The team's great, and there are some really good people. And well, everything there is just amazing. The facilities, the trips, pretty much everything about it. And I'm really happy about it. Well, yeah, you kind of picture it, but living it feels different. I think you really realize what it is. Yeah, I always say it, I'm really grateful to the fans, and I'm very happy. It changed a little, but like I said, just one more step and you'll get used to it. Yes, yeah. Sometimes I try to put on a cap and glasses.
Wow, they stick an ad here, you've got to be kidding. Come on, give away the wine and lots of other stuff.
Or something, but sometimes it doesn't work.
Can you go to the movies? Going out is impossible now.
Yeah, there are many people. Yeah, but technically speaking, no, not really. Yeah, I really feel for Marbella, and honestly, Marbella.
They had asked me if I went to the movies.
My city, besides Madrid too, obviously now. And I always tell him that when I retire, or when I no longer have to live somewhere else because of soccer, I want to live in Marbella. But well, we'll see later. Yeah, well, on the way there it was more about music, just talking about whatever, and on the way back after training, we'd chat about anything. You saw this or something and we started talking about soccer.
And now, does your dad still correct you after watching you play for Madrid when you joined?
Well, he's taken a step back too, and he says that happens at this level sometimes. Well, it's better to have the coach correct you. You know, when you're a kid, it's a bit different. Well, my dad wanted me to be a forward.
And I saw myself in you and wanted to score?
Yeah, I wanted to score, but honestly, I didn't really care. I just had fun playing soccer, and that's what mattered. Well, I think I switched to playing center back when I was 9. Yeah. I still have fun. I think if I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't be able to do this. Yeah, actually, my whole family is from Holland, but of course, I've lived in Spain my whole life and my customs are totally Spanish. I feel Spanish, and well, Spain is my country, my home, and they understand that. Yeah, I still eat sunflower seeds. Yeah.
Do you use that product and your mom always does? Yeah. And that's been since you were young?
Well, I don't know, that's why I love seeds.
And do you see yourself eating seeds?
Well, yeah, or watching a show, maybe after lunch I'll have some sunflower seeds and just relax by the pool now that it's warm. Yeah, I really like it a lot. They haven't told me anything yet. Well, he's a really good player, obviously, and, just really good overall.
Do they offer them?
The practices are not. I don't face him often, honestly, but he's amazing. Well, I'm happy to have him here with me, and I just hope he doesn't do too much against us in the league. Yeah, my idol has always been Sergio Ramos, and I think his ability to play the ball out from the back has been a bit underrated. Because he was known for being aggressive, making tough tackles, or scoring goals, but I think he was also really good at playing the ball out from the back.
The good guy here is totally right.
That's tough. I don't think they're going to let me.
Why is that?
Well, there are some really good shooters, obviously.
So, Sergio, what does the Lisbon goal mean to you?
Well, I think it's kind of my first memory of Madrid, and of course, a special one for me. I remember, it was 2014, so I must have been 9 years old. I was watching it with my childhood friend on the couch at home, together with my mom and my dad. Kind of my first memory of Madrid.
If you're right or left-handed, can you understand people assuming you're left-handed?
Yeah, well, I think it's good, right? So when they put pressure on me, well, it's even more.
The left one, like the one on the left side. Push it. My dad, what's the exercise he used to make you repeat when you were little? The one you hated doing but now has really helped you in your style of play? Which exercise is that?
He always made me practice diagonals. I was about 9 years old, and we'd set ourselves up on a full-size soccer field to diagonals, and I couldn't go more than 15 meters, but he still made me do it, and now it really helps me.
Long diagonal passes.
Yeah, to the opposite end.
And did you
dislike him? Well, he was really annoying. It's not that I hated him, but he was annoying.
Your dad even had 2 cameras at the Malaga fields to record your practices. How did you handle that, considering you were so young?
Well, it was more for the games than the practices, and I don't really have a problem with receiving feedback or criticism. Anything that helps improve, even if it's just 1%, matters. Soccer is all about the little details. Well, if it can get better, I'm happy to do it.
Well, a calm guy, really interesting, especially that part where he says Ramos's ball distribution has been underrated and that his dad used to teach him that when he was a kid. The thing about the diagonals, setting up those long passes from the back, not just along the ground anymore, but through the air. Not through the air. All right then. Hope everything goes great for you. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, comment, and see you next time. Bye.